Oh, put the last name instead of mine. I'm sorry. No, that's okay. I see. Let's start with parental involvement one. Are there any recommended changes for the parental involvement?
I did not have any,
Yeah.
so yes, the existing, the existing policy is based on the requirements that we have for the title grants. We read through it, there was nothing that we thought needed to be.
Any board have any changes, suggested changes to parental involvement?
We had looked at that policy in July, right?
Yes,
Okay, and then it just never went for a first reading?
I guess not.
I guess not, that was it. Then.
Okay, and legal review this, you said, or? did
It has not gone to legal yet.
So, okay,
It's usually what happens that we do the policies first and then we make suggested changes, then we'll ship it over to legal for it.
I just asked one, you started that?
Yes,
Oh.
we just started, thank you. You can't hear me?
Not you, it's my hearing, I should have bought, that's what I usually do is zoom it, so I can hear what you're saying.
So. We review it first. We send it to legal with any suggested changes and then they take a look at
okay. I think that it would probably be more optimized if legal looks at it first.
it. Well,
So
sometimes
that
what
we-
happens,
So that we're
sometimes,
working with a document that's compliant. with-
well, sometimes what happens is
laws.
that we make changes when we're doing that, when we're in the policy committee meeting. So sometimes when we make changes, the changes may not be appropriate. So we make changes and then we give it to legal gives the feedback when we go from there. So
So are you open to doing it the other way? Cause I just feel like it would be better use of our time if legal looks at the document first.
So
And then-
if there are certain policies that are new policies, that I'm absolutely fine with that, but there are certain policies that we've had in place for a number of years. So if we're gonna make changes to a policy, then it's something that I would say we make the changes and then submit it to legal. But if it's like, for example, there's some new policies that we have on the agenda tonight that we have to review, that we had as first readings. Those policies were sent to legal already. But if it's an existing policy, so we can go back and forth, it doesn't make a difference. So let's go back to this 1900. Any suggested changes in 1900?
If we,
It doesn't make a
it's gonna have
difference.
to go to legal after we review it anyway, isn't it?
Well, yeah, both
To
ways.
make, so. If we send it to them twice, isn't that gonna cost us more money for them reviewing it twice instead of just
Oh,
us doing it?
so
and
you're
then-
at, okay, so you're going with the alternative with what Lisa's saying? Cause
Yeah,
I
and they're
read
gonna
like
have
the
to look-
policy, like we have a policy on policies.
So,
And it's, I read it earlier
so
today.
let's not be put up in this question. 1900, any questions or change for 1900? You want to send it to legal? That's the question.
No changes.
Right?
What is the required local notice?
That's connected to where we have to submit the notifications, so the newspapers, like right now it's the Herald. Whatever our advertisements, our notifications to local newspapers, that's what it is.
Because it's not on all of it. Right?
What do you mean? What, on 1900 you're talking about?
Well, like all of the policies that we're reviewing tonight, it's not necessarily on the header for each of them.
I'm not
But
sure
it's
what you
supposed
mean.
to be,
I'm not sure what you mean.
this up in the top on the header, the required, the local and the notice.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying. Is some of the policies are maybe new, some may be revised, so that, once a policy is ready to go up. Then that information goes up, I'm not too sure which, required is, policies that we have to have legally, right? Some of them are, when it's local, that's something that, a policy that we can't have, so by law, there's certain policies that all school districts have to have, so that's the required portion. The local is that, okay, in our school district, we have this policy, but it's not required. The notice
Okay, because it's Title One.
for parental involvement,
Yeah, this is all Title One.
but it's,
Papers that you give out.
I'm not, if there's any, I'll see, our clerk has any handouts for you, so. We can double check it as if it's required. I think it may be one of the required policies, and these are things that are updated. And looked at before they're put up on board docs, whether it's required or. This is just the agenda.
Okay, I just wanna understand it, sorry.
No, no,
And I
it's
feel
fine.
like you're being tense with me, but
Megan,
I-
let's get, I'm not tense,
Okay.
whatever, I'm just explaining to you. What I believe what's meant by required from local, right? And required is like I stated, and what I'm just saying to you, the process involved with it. That once we review the policy, it goes over to legal. Then it comes back to us and we review that to see if we can accept any of the changes, some of it may be, some of it we have to accept, sometimes it's recommendation. And then it's the district clerk responsibility then to make sure up the top here, that that's all correct here, and then on the bottom as well. That if there's any references that are there, the adoption date and any revision here, that's all that is updated. So I'm just explaining the process to you, Phil.
okay, I still would think it would be more streamlined if legal reviewed it first. There was something, as I already gave comments on this in July, but do we have a school improvement plan team this year, or are we?
We don't have any schools that are required to have them this year.
Okay, because Park Avenue had,
Correct.
but
they
now we
aren't
don't have
required.
any. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions about the 1900 one?
No.
So we're gonna go to 6240. And the R, so I'll give it over to you, Ms. Snyder.
Looking at
6240,
code 6240.
yes.
We reviewed these with legal, so their notes are there for your
Okay,
comment, so there's, most of this was kind of templated sort of language. There's one change we had regarding. Investments where it's really only the treasurer designated to make investments on behalf of the district, there's no other party authorized to do that. So that was the only input we had. Is that very from the district treasurer's office?
so on 6240, in the first paragraph where it says, in accordance with this policy, the treasurer, chief fiscal officer or other officer. That's what you're referring to,
Yeah, that has to be treasurer,
so the one that's in red should come out.
yes.
Well. Well, the regulation. Couldn't we just change it? Does it have to be just the treasurer? Because that was a question I had.
In discussing it with legal, and I did review these with legal, it's my opinion that the treasurer is a custody function, they have custody of the cash and no one else is authorized. To have custody, to make those investments, that's the treasurer's primary function for you, is to maintain. Custody and control over your cash, so I think it's appropriate that the policy reads treasurer. As a chief financial officer, I don't have custody over the cash, I can see everything, but I can't do anything with it, and that is. A pretty fundamental internal control, so the recommendation is to go strictly with treasurer, and that is the way it is working internally here in the office.
Okay, but what legal had suggested that you could expand it.
Legal put the language in there that came with the boilerplate so that we could have this discussion.
The district treasurer is a consultant, no? So
No.
a third party?
No, the district treasurer is someone that, they're not a third party, I think they're appointed every year.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're appointed by the board.
Yes,
They're,
But are they an employee or are they a third party? Because I thought they were a third party.
I don't think that matters whether they're paid as a contractor or as an employee, they're still the board's designated. Custody
I
officer.
understand, I'm just curious.
I'm not sure whether they're
Because I think
employee or
it's a
consultant.
they're not considered a consultant, I think they're actually, they're not, we appoint them. So I don't think the title is as a consultant. So I think that I know they have always been appointed every year. So and they're being paid by the district in their role as a treasurer.
Okay, maybe we can just I'm just curious. I thought it was like a contract employee.
There's a contract, I believe that they do have, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Cause I guess my preference would be, it would be an employee of the district.
so the treasurer is considered an employee because we're hiring the treasurer for that
I
purpose.
see.
So it's, you can't talk. So the key is this, legal is recommended to put it in.
The treasurer.
So legal's recommended treasurer, what the language of chief fiscal officer or other officer, that is language that's coming from where?
It came templated with the policy.
Okay, so it comes simply with a policy, but legal's recommended that language comes out.
Who's SJ?
Sharon,
So isn't that Garcia?
Yes, it's legal, yeah.
Yeah. So they put it in.
They
Legal
put
put
it,
it in.
legal put it in.
Yeah.
As the
the
template.
discussions I have with Shannon, the only person in the district that is authorized to move cash is the district treasurer.
And that's what legal is suggesting, as it should be.
Absolutely. It would be inappropriate for me to be able to move cash.
So it's one of those things that, once again, we can take it as is. And we can give it to the board and say that legal's recommending that we just have it as treasurer. But the template for it has treasurer, fiscal officer, or other officer, and I think we just need to clarify with legal. What will be if we wanna leave it in, just get a little bit of explanation, so we can always come back to that, you know what I mean, and whatnot, but recommendation is for it to be removed. So it's something that we can always come, once again, this is just us reviewing the policy. We can send it back to legal and say, hey, we have a question, we're concerned as a board members, that it's just the treasurer. Can we leave the chief fiscal officer in there or someone else? Our finance and operation person saying that it can just be the treasurer, so we can get feedback from legal ones.
So who's gonna get that feedback?
So what we're gonna do, what we do is that, once we have a discussion on it, we finalize what our words are. And then from that point, as a policy committee, we can send it over to legal, so it'll go from the entire policy committee over to legal and say, we have some questions. On policy number 6240, the language that,
That's okay, I don't need you to repeat it, I just wanna know who's gonna do it.
so, as I'm gonna finish my statement, is
Okay.
this, is that with policy 6240, we can summarize what we wanna have
Right.
in the email. And that can come from all of us. I can ask Anne Marie as our district clerk, yes, as our district clerk to send it over to legal. So what we will do is that we just need to summarize what our question is for legal. So our
Okay.
question for legal for 6240 is the following. It has in here treasurer, chief fiscal officer, or other officer, right? Our question is, in our discussion, the recommendation was to take out, chief fiscal officer or other officer. Our question is, can we leave it in? Is that a question that we haven't?
That's not understandable.
Megan, is that your question?
My question was, is the district clerk like a consultant? That was my question.
The district clerk?
The treasurer,
The treasurer,
Right. So
because I would prefer it be like the officer. But
Can I just say, are they paid by the W-2, they're in payroll? It's a contract, and
we would have to look.
then
That's
they're
not-
being employees,
Yeah.
so the contract doesn't make it an independent contract. It could be a contract for an employee.
So we'll take a look at that. So the question, Megan, you wanna know is,
it's more about the treasurer, that's. And then it's just confusing that the attorney put the text in, but we're being told to take the text out, so that's. So I
okay,
guess just to clarify that.
so your question, just tell me what your question is so we can make sure we have.
Legal suggested that we add chief fiscal officer or other officer, but now we're being told. No, that's not the case, so
But you had a question about the treasurer. What is your question about the treasurer?
I'm just curious, I thought they were a third party. That's my
Is-
question.
Is this person a third party? That's it. Okay. And then that's number one, and then number two, your second question is, why is legal recommending that chief fiscal officer or other officer come in?
They added to the document and it's in, but now we're being told to take it out, so I just to clarify that.
Okay, that's.
Yeah.
So you have that, Emery, just to clarify. why they added in chief fiscal officer or other officer. So everyone's clear on that?
Yes,
Okay.
when we say third party, because I think that question was independent content.
I said, yeah, yes.
I mean, it's for the treasurer?
Right.
Everyone, any other comments on this one here? Do we have to go to legal? All right, so we're gonna go to 6240R. Mr. Snyder, do you have?
Just no, so acceptable as is to the administration and legal.
So this doesn't have a previous adoption date on it, so you're saying that legal has reviewed this version, right?
Yes, ma'am.
On the last page, audit, operations, audit and reporting. There's discussion about a competitive process through telephone solicitation. And I'd like to see that expanded to be electronic. Not telephone based, soliciting of bids. So, should I suggest changes then?
You're on page 5,
Yeah,
which number?
two. Two has it? F2,
So you're saying that not only telephone solicitation, but also via email?
Electronic.
So telephone.
yeah, I don't think telephone,
Antiquated.
it's very antiquated. That's why I don't, like, it would be nice if we knew what this dated back to, the document,
I can pull up one.
and, because there's no previous adoption date.
Well, no, I can feel it for these. I'm just gonna pull up on board docs.
So when legal reviews it, do they, like, would we ask them to compare it to like an updated NISBA template, or are they just reviewing our 12, 15-year-old policy and then determining if there's anything that's an issue?
So to answer your question, I'm just trying to get to the policy. I'm not too sure what, if they review it with the updated NISBA policy, so I can't answer that question on that. I'm not too sure.
In this case, I believe they took the NISBA template policies and incorporated some of the changes that you see
Okay, so they took
into the language.
text
This one,
from-
we spent a considerable amount of time looking at these investment policies.
okay, great.
This
Not
was,
catching the telephone.
this was adopted in March 2014 and then updated in November 2023.
Okay, so this one was today, okay.
So this one, yes, last revised, okay, I'm sorry, thank you, something.
So
So
you were able to see that on board docs, but not this hard copy, like, why is it different?
it's the same thing, it's just that they just took this to, they probably pulled it out, put it into like a Word document to make changes. So, this is from the changes, recommended changes. Yeah,
Yeah, but why would, they wouldn't take the footer off, right, with the previous adoption dates?
that I don't know. They wouldn't take it off,
Well,
they wouldn't take it off, it's just probably how it was sent, I'm not too sure. Honestly, not too sure. But it is, if you look at the policy. I'm sorry, it's having pops with it. Right, so. The 6240R that's on our computer, if you look at it, it is the look at the different sections. Look at the reg. So authorized investments, it has A, B, C in there. Right,
I mean, yeah, it looks the same, it's just interesting that the footer would fall off and.
so
Okay.
the only thing I'm hearing is. electronic, so on page number 5. Anne Marie?
Yes.
Page number 5F2, it says, sale of securities through a competitive process involving electronic solicitation.
I just wanna say something,
Mhm.
like, cause I emailed the proposed changes to Shannon, so the 6240 that was sent over to her. It's wording differently, so anything you see in orange is added by Shannon.
Right, okay.
Yes, okay. And there was an adoption date, and it's deleted from what Shannon sent over, probably because we're gonna have new adoption date. I don't know why the previous ones were deleted, but I
Yeah.
was leaving it blank. A stand on.
Right, so when you go to updates and those things, you'll leave the last adoption dates that are there and just add additional thing. Right, 67, any other questions?
Yeah.
Those these are things that were all added in by
Right.
leaving.
So they added under collateral,
Mhm.
number 4,
Spot, yep,
about page 2.
Yep.
And 4B, it's talking about international banks. Do we have any involvement with international banks?
Typically, no. I don't even know if there's any market for it, but we have legal, like, just add stuff that comes from NISBA, but. It doesn't mean we do, our banks are all local and regional.
Like, I don't feel like wouldn't that put us at some kind of a risk to go international banking? Or are we safer just keeping it local?
It's a fair question, sir. I mean, it would seem intuitively to be like, yeah, maybe that would add an element of risk, and
Right.
we don't do it, so the policy is there, but it doesn't mean that we're doing that. Everything we're doing is with local regional banks.
So
so we
I would suggest.
we have the option of taking it out.
Yeah.
So if we want to take it out, we can recommend to the board that we want to remove that. So, Anne Marie, what's good sometimes is that if we just kind of strike through it and just say recommended to remove and get that particular section. It was the international banks.
Okay, where was it?
It's on page
On
2,
page 2, the list.
it's 4B. Any other questions or comments about 6240R?
No.
6700 purchasing. Mr. Snyder, do you have any recommended changes?
Just that the recommendation here is that a name be in policy for the purchasing agent. Currently, that's me. The external auditors agree that the name of the purchasing agent should be in policy. It makes it a little cumbersome should there be change in turnover, but the recommendation there is for an actual name of the purchasing agent.
So on page 1 where it says purchasing agent, so we would then identify as the
Richard Snyder.
the actual name,
Not even just the title.
not the title?
Did we appoint you as a purchasing agent at the reorg meeting? I don't recall that.
I'm working with my phone, I'm looking to see if I see something on the video, I'm not looking at my phone for other purposes.
Okay.
So it says here who's a person is include his or her title. Can we just put the title?
I think for now, you can leave it as the title, and I'll just again pose the question to Gertz, should this be a name?
Yeah.
In this case, I believe I am the designated purchasing agent for the district.
Okay. So we're recommending that or the purchasing agent, and I go look at the language, shall be the assistant superintendent for finance and operation. Okay. Person will be supervisor purchasing agent shall be the assistant superintendent of finance and operation. And will be designated by the Board of Education. Does that make sense?
So,
I think so. I just don't recall. Identifying the purchasing agent at the reorg meeting.
We can look into that and double check.
It's me.
So we did really say.
You did. I think
Okay, good.
The question is, I think we'd want legal to formally weigh in as to whether or not my name needs to appear in policy. It's a little cumbersome, but I heard that from an audit, that the name needs to be there.
Right, so what we'll do, we will, so Emery, when you type it up, we'll put the title in. And then just say, you can make a note in there that states. That the auditor recommended to put the actual person's name in, do we need to do? Is the title sufficient? Any additional questions or comments on page 1?
No.
Any comments about the comments on page 2?
Yeah, I mean, the Green New York. All it's gonna do is raise the cost of any of the work,
It just says we have the
and it
option.
says like whenever feasible, so how are we gonna decide
It's economically feasible.
when it's, right, which may not be.
Oh, I agree.
That's what I sort of remember that
All
when,
for a green planet, but it is.
I mean, I'm an
Okay.
environmental engineer and I'm saying that, so I think I remember when we were interviewing the district's engineer or architects, they were like, yeah, no, we don't.
With the lead buildings, right?
And that's definitely, but this is the Green New York. I guess we can leave it in, it's just kind of vague, because it's like whenever feasible.
And it also states that the district has the option to include this objective or not. So we can take it in or we can leave it in or out.
Yeah, it continues, some
it's just leave it as an option. If it ever somehow becomes financially feasible.
Right. Well, I guess you'd have to like. Get 2 prices, like with or without it, like that's. Cause, right, cause it's kind of like,
It's available for what we're looking at. It's not
Right.
these green products.
And there's a whole paragraph about it on the next page.
Right.
yeah,
We look at green cleaning supplies.
Well,
It's not
that's
gonna be
in-
economically feasible because the costs are through the roof compared to.
well, this is, we say we do that already, the green cleaning,
Try.
okay. Alright, I mean, let's leave it in, I
It
just
says
wanna
whenever
acknowledge it's
feasible,
gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
That's next paragraph under it, like opportunities will be provided to all responsible suppliers to do business with the school district. The statement about suppliers who place of business is situated within the district may be given preferential consideration. I don't know, it seems vague too. I don't like may, like just like leaving it up. For interpretation,
So what is your recommendation?
just to take it out.
So it won't be will be, just take out the whole sentence? So
It says like if identical in price, quality and other factors, like there's too many like. Variables. Like if it's identical in price, then I guess leave it right there, then like you would say, yes, we'll choose the local business. But
I kind of like the concept, I like the idea of the quality, because the price may be good, but the quality's not good. Then,
well, this is saying giving preferential treatment to local businesses.
right, but it's saying that when the. Correct, given when bids or quotations on an item or service are identical as to price, quality and other factors, so.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
like
quality
another,
is,
other factor could be, you call them and they deliver it in 10 minutes versus somebody that's in Westbury and it takes 45 minutes to get something. Depending
Okay.
what the item is.
I think it's like qualitative. There's room for interpretation, so I like things that are just clear cut. If this is gonna be the guiding policy, rather than leaving it up to, oh, well. Other factors, that's all
So what is your recommendation to strike that?
I would just take it out, but
The
I
whole
hear
sentence
that
of-
you don't. Either one of you wants it, so.
So. This,
I didn't
this
say-
thing, we didn't say that, we're just having a conversation on it, So your recommendation is supplies whose place of business situated within district, that whole sentence you recommended, your suggestion is for it to come out.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we do, we just, we make a notation and just say, as in the policy committee, this was a suggestion to remove this sentence. If the board agrees to remove it, then it comes out. So we're just making recommendations to the board, so anyone can make a recommendation.
Or do we know what other factors there might be? If we spell that out a little bit, so we could. Leave that in there? Mr. Schneider, do you know what?
It's the whole mentionings about delivery. It's the only other factor I could consider, you know, American made, non-American made, things like that. Go back to product
Quality.
could, right? You give me preferential treatment, all other things being equal to an in-district vendor is something I've seen before, it's not abnormal, but. Other factors would leave it to the judgment of the purchasing agent.
Right.
Thanks.
I like it clear cut, I don't, that's me, did,
Yeah, I think if we define
said
other
so.
factors, it could kind of take out the gray area of improper preferential treatment.
Let's not put that in there.
Yeah.
If you want to say price, quality, source of manufacturing
And
and
delivery,
delivery,
Alright, with
does
that,
that cover it?
yeah,
so are we saying we want American made, cause that's a different. I know you, I,
That's your policy, yeah. I'm
I
just saying.
wouldn't,
it's just,
maybe take out source of manufacturing.
I would just, if we're gonna put it, I would say price,
Delivery.
quality and delivery. So, Anne Marie, we can do this two ways. We can say the recommendation was to keep the sentence in, but add. Take out the word other factors and add delivery.
With like their warranty factor in.
And then the other recommendation is to remove it,
You could, but
remove it. So we may have to do like
Should have
two,
like a lower quality product,
With a
but
better
they'll
warranty.
guarantee and the better warranty and they'll just replace it 5,000 times.
right, so we'll, it's up to, we just, we'll give both options to the board and the board
Okay,
can make a decision.
I'm adding in warranty. First.
Warranty.
Or something like that, whatever, probably. word
And
it
what
be.
we'll do is, this language first goes over to the, to legal, to make sure that's okay. So if we leave it in, then the recommendation is identify as the price, quality, warranty and delivery. Or we remove the sentence out completely. So it'll be, any other questions on page 2 or comments on page 2?
No.
Any comments on page 3 of the Green New York purchasing? Those the 3. Anything on
well,
page?
the cleaning products. We don't specify to use like paints and sealants with low VOCs, or it's like where is. That's something that like when we were doing the walkthrough in the buildings right before school started, and I was like, I'm just very sensitive to chemical smells. Like. I didn't see anything in here, like, we just have it as cleaning products. So maybe it's
So,
I mean, I could come up with a paragraph, I guess, but
well,
it would be like for paints and sealants too. Low VOCs are like toxic chemicals you breathe in when you have like the paints.
Mhm.
Yeah. okay.
Nice, nice, nice of you.
Okay.
I'm looking at it to where it could go in,
Right.
that's what I'm. So my expression is like, where could this go? So maybe it's something that we can make a notation and then we can have. We can take a look at to see where it could where it would go in this part of the
Yeah,
and give and provide language.
okay, because it does say cleaning and maintenance, so that's where I was saying like maintenance is like
What number are you looking at?
You're on page 3.
Page 3, the environmentally sensitive cleaning products. To, C1, and a second line. Harmful chemicals and substances used in cleaning and maintenance.
So language. Which includes. What did you say, maybe, once includes,
BMC.
Paint,
no, you
like-
said, you said low,
VOC. It's volatile organic compounds, it stands for.
you have that, Emery?
Yes.
So the question for legal will be how, what would be the proper language that could be developed to be put in here?
And it would be at the end of that sentence.
Or wherever they feel would be appropriate, yeah. Anything else on page 3? Page 4?
American salt, I did, again with the may, I mean, I don't know. I'm a cut and dry. So do we want American salt or we not, like? District may give a preference to suppliers, I mean, it's not make or break this policy, I just. We're reviewing it.
So, just like is American rock salt. Like, I don't even know if is it all pure salt or is there other chemicals in there? I don't know enough about it to really
I said no.
weigh in if we should have one over the other.
It says this section was added as a statute was referenced in the policy. So we can always just ask for provide clarity on this.
The statute was referenced in the policy, so we added the statute.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, or. So we can ask legal to
So
provide
maybe
clarity.
it is, yeah. Okay.
I'll just ask them to provide clarity on this. So Claire, why added and why use the word may? Alright, so we're gonna ask for clarity on this sentence, and then also why was the, why use the word may? Anything else in addition to?
Yes, I definitely like the electronic format. Says electronic format is not required, but it's up to the board.
I think it should be electronic format. On page 4, it's what they put that in, yeah. Which makes me think. There was another one that was talking about, I guess the language should be electronic format. Or the other one you're talking about?
The previous one we were looking at?
Yes, electronic format, yeah, on page, it was the 6240R. On page 5. Page 5. We're talking about a dollar amount, it says very small procurements. So that one kind of hit me, because I said maybe provide a dollar amount. Any recommended dollar amount that we could put in there? Was considered very small on page 5.
Well. Gonna backtrack a little bit, looking, just pick farming down, American salt preference. The district may award contracts for rock salt or sodium chloride, whether or not subject to competitive bidding to a responsible and reliable supplier of rock salt or sodium chloride that is mined and harvested in the United States, as long as the offer is within 10% of the lowest price or best value offer.
Would you just pull that from a different,
Yeah, I just looked up Farmville.
yeah, so it's, right, but that gives more definition to it, like the within 10%, because this is just arbitrary. We may use American mined salt. Right, like,
This also says May. So they both.
well, they do it to the 10%, like within 10% though, right? They
Yeah.
give like more of a, more boundaries.
Yeah, it's lowest. Lowest 10% of the lowest price or best value offer.
I'm gonna ask you to provide more details on that one as well. Alright, so, very small procurements. So they say add an amount, what would be an amount? Do we know? No,
Refer back to the board, but
okay,
I don't know, I just said $5,000.
Did you just say what number you want again?
we're still on 6,700,
You're on
page 5,
6,700 still?
yeah,
It said page 5 though?
page 5.
Is that one that only you got? Cause online is page on the booklet.
Yeah, there's some additions that were added to it.
Okay, cause I'm like, no, page 5.
For some reason, I thought people were pricing it, isn't it? Honestly, I can't speak to this, so I don't know of the numbers, I don't know if it's 5, I don't know if it's 10, I don't even wanna say. Have you seen anything in terms of number ranges, anyone?
I'm off the top of my head, I would say 5,000 seems reasonable, because a lot of times the things we're buying are already on bids and contracts already. So I would agree that for purpose of discussion and moving this to the board, 5,000 is a good place
Okay.
to start. I can get a little more feedback on that, but when Ms. Messman said $5,000, I was like, you know, that probably is a reasonable thing to have in policy.
Farmingdale has.
To the extent we ever really need to use it.
Farmingdale has dollar amounts. I don't know when they adopted this, but
Multiple.
purchase contracts up to 20,000. Contracts from 1,000 up to 1,500, verbal quotes, documentation, it's like, there's a bunch of information in here about them.
Yeah,
When we're getting quotes, there's forms that we use.
alright, so we'll put in, we'll put in 5,000.
I'm trying to look, there's like a conflict of interest statement in here, and I feel like it could be a little bit,
Which page?
I don't know, let me find it. Oh, it's on the last page. The third paragraph, no board member, officer, or employee of the school district will have an interest in any contract entered into by the board or the districts as provided in Article 18 of the General Municipal Law. I feel like it could be more there about, you know, being open about potential conflicts of interest, like I deal with this in my industry and. Just that,
Defining what an interest actually is,
yeah, maybe. It needs a little bit more,
or
it's
like,
not,
does my neighbor factor in as an interest?
yeah,
Or is it just like a relative?
Financial interest, just defining the interest.
I think we might need some.
It's a conversation about the thing where you could say direct or indirect material or immaterial. I've seen that before, which would cover what you're saying. This is basic template that comes from GML. So what you're saying is either direct or indirect, which is a little more broadly defined, to be like a neighbor or a friend. Material being large, not immaterial being even something as small as an order, your neighbor owns the pencil company that would buy it from, that sort of thing. You should probably kick back to legal if you want that defined in policy.
Alright, so what I'm hearing is, for example, provide more details in regards to. The question about the interest of any contract entered into. Is it a direct or indirect interest that a board member or officer or employee has
Direct, indirect, material and immaterial.
material?
Material meaning large, immaterial meaning something small that you would have to disclose that you have an indirect relationship.
Right.
So that's what you're asking for. I think the auditor sent home questions about that every year, if you remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anything as a comment or? is it just
we're asking legal advice. To provide more details about expanding to put in direct or to put in the language of, for example, direct. Go ahead.
Or indirect material and immaterial, which would mean you're gonna have to disclose everything that you're aware of if you have some sort of a connection. To purchases being made by the district.
Right now, we do that with something else. We're not.
Disclose it in that related party questionnaire that you probably received a
Yes.
while ago for the external one. They asked those very specific questions.
Does it go to like every employee?
That goes to key employees, doesn't go to every employee,
And it goes to, it came to us as board members too.
board and administration.
Okay, so should it say just employee of the school district, is that? Or should it just say board members and officers? Yeah.
I
And
think
then,
maybe, I would say let's expand, not expand, but just get clarity on it.
Yeah.
Because it's. Because what is considered an officer? Is it office of the board members or?
social mediation.
Any other comments on the state? Okay. 6741. Anything for 6741?
Yes. The second highlighted section where. Contain critical details of services sought and shall not include any limitations that may limit response. I know what. Sparked that to be added to it. But. I feel like that could also end up causing the RFP to be too general. Like, could a licensing requirement be considered a limitation? Then we would have to take that out according to the policy.
What do you mean by a license?
Like if whatever the professional service is where you need a license to perform that, but then somebody could look at that and be like, oh, well, that's a limitation and goes against your policy. I don't have a license, but it's limiting me to put in my bid. I'm sure there's other examples, but that's.
Yeah, I think what we kicked around in discussion with legal is like if the board wanted years of service for. Some sort of a professional. Sort of accounting or legal, and you want that firm that had X amount of years with experience dealing with. Public schools and I know the answer, and that's why it's like, is that what that means? That if you're doing an RFP for somebody who builds desks, making something up. Anybody could respond, or do you want X amount of, or do you want to be able to put some qualifications? On who can respond, and that was the discussion I had with legal.
Oh, I see.
So that's a better way of saying what I was
Yeah,
trying to say.
I knew exactly what I meant that, but. 5 years as a licensed speech provider, something like that.
Cause
But
you never
that's like
know,
the minimum qualification that we would define in the RFP.
Yeah, but then this policy would, then lawyer, Shannon was like, well, does this policy prohibit us from putting qualifications on who's
Mhm.
qualified to respond?
No.
And that's for you.
But it would limit the
That's what
responsibility.
drove the question.
may limit this.
So when somebody responds to an RFP, they can identify where they don't meet the requirements in the RFP. And then we can decide to take it or leave it. So if they going with this idea of somebody needs 15 licensed engineers
Those are they with the desk.
or desks, whatever it is, like, they can come back and say, well, we have this many. Which is not exactly what you asked for in the RFP, and it would be up to the district to decide if that's still a responsible bidder. Like, this came about because of the bus company.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because we said they have to be within 15 minutes of the school district, so one company is within 15 minutes of school, so that's not competitive pricing. So we don't wanna, I mean,
Yeah, that's a unique situation that the bus companies are geographic by nature. That's probably a bad example. I think I remember
yeah,
that kind of conversation. Well, legal and I were talking about, I think it was like speech pathology would qualify for this. If you want to hire speech pathologist, would you want them to have X amount of years of experience and put that in your RFP? And if you did want to do that, this language and policy seems to prohibit us from putting that metric in there, so you have to have 5 years of experience.
I think it should come out, that's just. I wouldn't want, so I remember our discussion on it. So what we can do, we can bring it before the board and say that we're recommending to take it out. Some of the policy committee members said to leave it in, others said to leave it out, so we just need to decide if we're gonna go.
Like, I'm not against what you're trying to get at, Megan, but I feel like, and I don't know what the wording would be, but if there's another way to word it. I wouldn't be against something like that necessarily.
Right, let's play, not right now. but
yeah, I
we'll
mean,
play.
it's just. I mean, I work with the counties, right? I work with New York City, I work with, so in their purchasing, they can't sole source. So you have to be extremely mindful that you're not developing an RFP that is written around one entity and no one else can respond to it. So that's the concept. That's the concept. So if this is not the right sentence, then maybe we can get somebody else, like, we
Yeah,
can
that's
give
what I'm-
thought to how to
that's what
write
I'm
the
saying.
sentence, like, yeah. But,
Secret Service to not create qualifications that will limit responses to a sole source.
no, you can't just have one bidder, like, we would have had to go back out for that transportation bid. That's what blew my mind. Cause we wouldn't have been able, Nassau County, Suffolk County would not have been able to accept one bidder for a contract of that amount.
We worded something like, should not have limitations that limit responses to qualified bidders.
I think let's give some discussion back, not stuff, we'll give some feedback back to legal and say, how could this information be placed in here? But not have the limitations that it has here, so how else can it be reworded? I think that would be a recommendation, because, and we can give the example that we're trying to make sure that if anyone wants to place a bid, they can be able to place a bid and not be. Not be part of the process. I think, I understand your point, Megan, in terms of the bus. But I think that's a unique situation. That in terms of buses from other locations, we have to look at a lot of different things, using that example, and I understand because if people from other areas could have responded, but when certain circumstances occur, they have to be able to get to the district in a certain amount of time. So the question would be, would they be able to get here in a certain amount of time to meet the needs of our students as well as transport our students? So I think that was kind of a unique situation, but we can see how it could be worded slightly differently. That no
Yeah.
one will be limited at.
Okay, cause I think that it would be at the due diligence of the districts to be aware of what entities could bid. And to be aware of if they're inserting something into the RFP that would be knocking others out, and part of my job, so I don't think that this sentence is incorrect. I think that it's accurate. And when you're in an RFP process, there's a process where they can ask questions and clarifications, they can state, we can decide during the bid window if we want to change language in RFP, but to take it out, I think it needs to be in.
Well, what if we just added to the end of it qualified bidders? So I feel like that would allow us to. List qualities that we require. But then. Take things out, like. That would limit different people in certain ways.
A qualified bidder is just that, somebody that can meet all the terms of the RFP, so if. So they aren't deemed qualified if there's something in RFP that they can't meet.
Let's give it to legal for them to play around with that language. And see what else we can come up with.
I mean, we could probably expand it, because there's nothing in here about like. Receiving and addressing questions during the RFP window, I mean, is that something that we do? Mr. Snyder?
Whenever someone has a question about a pending RFP, the question will come in and the answers go out to all known respondents.
Right, so why don't we say that in here?
It follows general municipal law 103. So it's kind of implied in bidding process that. We answer all questions to everyone we know's received the bid or picked up the RFP.
You said, general municipal law 103, are you just going off the top of your head, because this one is referencing 104B.
Well, 103 is more stringent since it goes with public bidding, and that's generally. The rules for 104 sometimes mirror that, so in terms of your question about question and answer. When someone asks a question about an RFP, we treat the same way we treat a bid in the sense that we give the answer to everyone who has picked up or has received the RFP.
Okay, so I would like it to reference general municipal law 103.
You have to run that by
Yeah.
legal because it's a different section. I'm really telling you as a purchasing agent. That's how I handle questions on RFP, the same way I would handle it as a public bid.
So just for clarification, Megan, where are you referring to about the 103, where you want to add it?
If there's a reference at the end,
Okay, you just saying, okay, sorry.
so we're saying we're gonna comply with that, so. Maybe if we reference 103,
104 and 103.
some of these questions might shake out, because there might be additional language that could be added.
All right, so, and where you have that, can we, on the references, can we add, 103?
And that's a question for the attorney.
Yeah. All right, on page 2. I just need clarification on this. Where it says all RFPs shall be published in the district approved newspapers. Just. I remember this language was added in, but I just need a clarification when we say all RFP, so any RFP that has gone out. Or has come back in, we want that to be published in the newspaper, I just want to clear, I don't remember the explanation behind this. And all RFPs shall be uploaded to the district approval electronic platform for the board of education. I don't remember, does anyone anyone recall why this came up as we published in district approved newspapers?
I think that came up to try to get a wider reach and a wider response. So that was added in. I definitely asked for these files to be saved on board docs. So that it was at our fingertips rather than having to ask for it or have it in emails or. That's, seems like. Maybe where that came from.
Sure, but
So can I just for clarification, so on page 1. Mr. Snyder in the second paragraph where it talks about, The board directs the assistant superintendent to take measures to ensure that a highly qualified professional is secured through producing an economic use of public money, which may include the list four things. That's different than what with the RFP, just for clarification.
That's different than a bid where you put the bid spec together and you. Publish it in a newspaper and anyone can respond to it. Was that your question, man?
Yeah, I'm just because the RFP, like if we're just saying that we're going out for RFP, if we're just stating that. That we're gonna send it out. Electronically as well as a hard copy, we're just also stating here, we're just going to put it in the newspaper as well, that one. I'm fine with that. The only thing it says all RP shall be uploaded to the district approval electronic platform for the board of education, and that was. That recommendation that come, I think, as you stated, Megan, was that therefore be accessible to the board of education, but I think it's uploading, depending what the documents are, it's uploading all those documents, some documents were sent to us electronically too. Okay. If you know what we're going through. We could leave it in right now.
Well, it's just like searching in emails, it's really
Yeah.
time consuming, and putting it in Friday memos is, you can't search it, so there's just. File structure.
Yeah, we're gonna, we like
Put
that.
a timeline or how long it should be available. Or
You mean,
like how long it's on board docs,
yeah, it should all be on dogs.
say years and years and years.
No, it should just be there for the time frame that it's going, that the process is taking place. It says the written proposal submitted by applicants shall be maintained for at least 6 years.
So the RFPs and written proposals,
That's what it states here.
one says. So I would say insert the RFP and written proposal.
So you got
The
the
bus,
Emory-
the bus RFP is 5 or 6 years, so. So you keep it, that would probably cover the term. And then you move on. And you use it as a basis for the next one. So I have some language here, so are you done, Lisa, with your thoughts or?
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that Emory got that last
Oh,
one.
okay.
So, yeah, I'm adding in the RFP and the
Written
written
proposal.
proposal, so do I put it as this is a suggestion from the committee?
Yes. These are all
Just
suggestions from
use
us.
word, the change of wording.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So on that first page, where we're talking about
Go back to
purchasing,
page one.
yeah, that second paragraph where it's talking about purchasing professional services. I don't know if it's a bullet or if it's inherent to that paragraph. But we wanna. I would suggest that there's a statement that says that. That all, without exception, that we're verifying all legally required and applicable professional credentials exist. Are current and will not expire during the term of engagement. Like during the term of the. Contract, right, term of engagement. So
One more time.
So.
Or do you have, yeah.
So that we verify that all legally required and applicable professional credentials
All.
exist.
Legally required. Professional.
And applicable. Professional credentials, which goes. Some of the examples you're saying, firstly about like. Licenses. Exist, are current. And will not expire during the term of the. Contract. Or agreement, whatever.
Exist and.
Are current and will not expire during the term of the. Contract.
You have it, Emery? And that would be added where?
It could be a bullet, I mean, I guess under 4, published in. I guess it could be 5, or it can be built into that paragraph.
So maybe let's share that language with legal. And yes, can it be a bullet? Or separate paragraph? Separate? Or embedded it?
Okay, so on page 2, that second paragraph. Talks about the superintendent after a thorough review of the proposals in consultation. So I think, like, should we clarify that except for all legal services? District treasurer, that goes back to my question on the treasurer. Internal auditor, external auditor, and a district clerk. The superintendent does the thorough review, because those. Services came to the Board of Education, right? And we reviewed those proposals.
So I'm gonna do the district clerk, for example, with the district clerk. Is it really a proposal? Because we did a posting for it, we got a response back, so I'm looking at it. Not as proposal for. For legal, so we went out for RFP for legal, that came back, and that came to us, but that, the superintendent. And the assistants, they didn't have anything connected to, for the legal. Treasurer. Treasurer, we have not changed in a long time. But it's, I'm not too sure we've gone out for another treasurer at all, and I don't think we've gone out for another treasurer and then. And I'm not too sure how long that's been. So your question is,
Except for, like, in front of the superintendent, is it except for legal services? District treasurer, internal auditor, external auditor. And the district auditor, because those are all, we did that as a Board of Education, we looked at the legal.
okay, so.
We didn't, I'm still questioning the treasurer.
Hold on a second, Mary, I'm trying to write this down.
internal auditor and.
Except for legal services, internal. And external auditors. Well,
Treasurer and the clerk.
And that would be added.
the superintendent. After thorough review of proposals, not consultation, anything. So it would be,
Right at the end.
yeah, I would put right at the end, yes.
For the beginning.
Because if you go through all that, yeah, except for,
Doesn't
yeah,
matter.
yes. All right,
And
so
when
that's,
So it says that we were gonna do this every 3 years, which is something we were trying to catch up on, right, with the legal and the auditors. So. Are we falling behind on the treasurer?
okay.
And this is.
And the district clerk is, that's on the annual, that's annual, the district clerk. So that is, so the district clerk is reappointed
So
on
maybe-
an annual basis as well as the treasurer, so that's not a 3-year, that's on an annual basis that they're appointed.
Okay, I just. Okay, but the paragraph above it says not less frequently than every 3 years. So the clerk is annually, but
Yes, as well as the treasurer. The both annual. appointments.
And is this that I'm asking the attorneys for, or this is just a comment that's a suggestion?
No, we're gonna give, let's go to legal and make sure that. We need the language needs to be changed in some way. Any comments on the, anything part 2 there? I mean, anything saw on page 2, any additional comments? If there's no more comments, I wanna move on. And I know we have. A couple of things that we definitely need to address. I'd like to just jump down to section B, because those are policies that were from. That we need to review, so I just want to jump down and make sure that we get those in. So there, in section B, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So it's the gender neutral one. It's gender neutral 0, 1, 1. 43, 41.13. Preschool special education. 4321.14 special education personnel. And 4321.2 school-wide referral approaches and interventions, so I'm going to jump down to that, and then also. I also see this 4321 as well. So. I think it's you.
Yes. So, the reason that 0101 is required is because it's law. So, wherever we have single gender restrooms, we must, label them as single occupancy restrooms. They must be labeled in some way as gender neutral. And there's language there that the board can decide on, and it's not critical either way. I've also polled the schools to determine whether or not they have done this with all their single occupancy restrooms, and they have not been. Some schools have some that are, some that aren't, so I'll have to work with facilities to make sure that we get the appropriate signage to bring our restrooms, our single occupancy restrooms, into compliance with this. There may be, in my opinion, some faculty who are not happy about the idea that a single occupancy restroom must be made to be an all gender restroom. However, the law requires that we do that where we have them. So either we add a stall or we go to an all gender restroom for those. Nonetheless, our buildings were on top of this, and I believe that bringing ourselves into compliance will be a matter of purchasing whatever appropriate signage is needed in the correct amounts. And we'll be able to bring ourselves in line with this policy as soon as it's adopted or within weeks thereof.
Does anyone have a preference for the language? What's,
It doesn't say what the option.
it says signage must conform to the state education department for acceptable terms and icons. Or it's given us signage must conform to the state education department preference of the term all gender and a toilet icon.
So that's the preference.
I think it's
So-
easier to just use the one that states all gender instead of putting. That it must conform to the state preferred terms, and then you have to go look up to see what the state terms are.
I think the only reason they put it down as site must conform to the state education prefer acceptable terms and icons. I think they probably did that just in case it changes from all gender. So I think.
How about if we have a sign already, should we just match the signs? Aren't there signs at Northwest? I think we
think they
looked at
said-
that,
I don't know if they said gender neutral or all gender.
I don't know either. But if we want, like, rather than have to like replace, if we do have some signs, maybe we just want to,
Yeah.
so not to replace all the signs.
Yeah, I prefer the second one, the signage must conform to the state education department preferred acceptable terms. Preferred or acceptable terms and I think that makes it, just in case to your point, if there's something that's already in existence. We're not,
Yeah, I didn't think about what we already have. So that makes sense.
So I found it like. Shocking to see that Northwest has 25 single occupancy bathrooms. Did I read that table correctly?
But many of those may be assigned to classrooms
yeah,
or attached to,
Oh, in
Classroom.
each
Yeah.
classroom,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't bring the
I'm
numbers with
thinking the
me.
whole
So yeah,
way.
I think they're automatically single occupancy.
Gotcha, so we have to put a sign on each.
so you have to put a sign on each that reflects that.
Okay, thank you. That just, because I'm thinking in the hallway,
no.
every little classroom, okay.
And we're not required to add all gender where they don't exist, only to label those that are single occupancy as all gender or something. In other words, if there were no single occupancy restrooms in the entire building, we wouldn't have to label any of them. Because there's not a requirement that we do so, it's only for single occupancy. Label them as all.
Okay,
Well, it's not saying that we need to have them, it's just if we do.
If we do, we have to label them as all gender.
okay, because I think was the high school, did it say there were none for the students?
There may not be any set apart for the students in high school, I have to check that and I can report that back.
I remember that table.
They use the nurses if they needed the single occupancy students use the nurses bathroom.
Okay,
at the high
Do
school.
they know that, it's like communicated to them? Okay, cause I would think that at that age,
Yeah.
that was be where it really becomes a possible issue. Can't imagine, I don't. Not as much so with kindergartners.
Anything else for this policy, 0101? So I'm gonna go to 9520.6.
I think this is week as well.
Yes.
Again, I reached out to the principals, they got back to me within 12 hours from my reaching out to them. They were very impressive, so I appreciate that. With this, our high school reports us to be fully in compliance, meaning having all aspects of, and I listed the bullets, said, do you have this? And they indicated that they have each of these elements at Memorial High School. The middle school report is having an area approachable and an acceptable area, but the only thing that it did not have was running water.
Hmm.
So we'll need to identify an area, should it need to be used, that has running water.
Hmm.
The elementary schools do not currently have any requests for the use, however, we should work with the elementary schools to make sure that we have those areas available and set aside. The one thing that I do not know that we are in compliance with is the annual provision of this policy in writing to every staff member. If there is a sign off each year, and I don't know the answer yet, if there's a sign off each year on a board mini manual of sorts where we give the policy and ask faculty to review it every year, then we can include this among policies that we would consider essential policies for staff members to look at each year and therefore provide it. I also do not know that we provide this, well, it's not adopted yet. I don't know, correct?
No, I'm sorry.
Right.
So, once the board adopts the policy, we'll provide it to all employees. We also have to provide it to everybody as soon as they're onboarded, as it states here. So we'll make sure that the Human Resources Department provides it to every employee upon hire. And then annually to every employee as well. I would expect that there will become an increasing desire for these spaces in all buildings. And so we'll work with the elementary schools to make sure that they've identified spaces that meet all the requirements. And we'll work with facilities in order to adjust spaces if we need to, in order to meet all the requirements for staff to have this desire.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned the sign off, because that's something like this is my first year on the policy committee. And something that I was hoping that we would implement, that the staff is signing off on the policy manual, that I don't believe that that's happening.
So
Or some select key policies or,
I may have overstepped, which can happen from time to time. I'll make sure that I bring it to the superintendent and her cabinet. For discussion and recommendation, and discuss it with others that it will impact. I believe that it is an appropriate thing to do. And we'll work together to identify those policies that are the most essential and the most common for staff to need to know or have reviewed on an annual basis. Both legally required and good idea too.
I know that in there used to be policy manuals in each of the school buildings. Right? But I like that idea of having it at least electronic. Because people, if it's just one policy manual, that's not gonna be really beneficial for everyone, but if the staff and employees know. This is a location where you can find the policy manual, all the policies, but even maybe pull out the ones that are required by law. And make that as a set folder that's accessible to all employees, that would be a good thing to do.
The fact that the board has these on board docs gives us a mechanism for saying, these are the policies that we must review each year. And then they
And
be
if it's on,
accessible simply by going through board docs, so everyone
Yeah.
public and faculty and staff have access to every policy. We need to just remind for that if I suggest we might do that ourselves.
yeah, like just a certification that you're aware of these and you're familiar with them, whatever.
And there must be a mechanism in board docs where you can, I'm sure we can go in and just be able to read it and check it off. I'm sure it's something that we could look into just to see. Just on the top of this, please note in the gray area, it says new note, and so what will come out is the old note and the language underneath it. So the new note is what will stay in the old note, and this model policy developed is that will all come out. Just kind of make a notation.
The last sentence off there, is that it?
Nick says this model policy developed by the New York State Department on Express and Breast Milk in the workplace, we have only modified it in format to be able to adopt it and include in the district, so this is just NISBA talking to us.
Okay.
So it's just a top portion that was staying, and the grade would come off, and the new note would go away as well. Any other comments on this policy? And so we're gonna move on to the next one.
Oh, I guess, how quickly do we have to comply with this? Is there some sort of guideline about that?
So I would, my goal is for these policies that have the four stars that goes back up on the agenda in October.
Yeah, but that's not, what I'm talking about, like bringing running water to a room.
Well,
How
Well,
much
once-
time do we have to?
Once a policy gets into place and gets adopted, then that's when they have to comply with it, so
so,
that's the key.
so the revised policy will be shared with principals. Very quickly, prior to board adoption and in anticipation of board adoption. We're gonna make sure that we identify those places that we may need to have for staff based on the policy and based on law.
Come up with a plan to bring water there?
Or find a place that already has water. I mean,
Yeah.
The real key is to identify a place that has water and the other requirements. And it may require imposing spaces that people like, sometimes changes require us to do things that aren't always popular with every single person. So,
Come a long way with this one. 4321.13.
I honestly haven't read this yet. This one, cause this, we had a different one in front of us, right? The other night at
Yeah. The other one was the existing. Policy just for special education. Whereas this one is for preschool special education.
and this was the one that was identified as missing.
Yes.
Okay, so which one are we looking at then? I'm sorry.
The 4321.13.
So it outlines, the role of a CPSC, our responsibility to have a CPSC. The procedures if parents have concerns. It's pretty straightforward about what we're expected to do based on regulations. It was just absent from the policy.
Okay.
So this one came from NISBA like this, okay. Any other suggested, no suggested changes from that one?
I don't have any change.
4321.14. This is a special educational personnel. It's conflict personnel. Out of title here.
For the most part, this just speaks about our responsibility to ensure that the personnel we use in special ed settings are appropriately certified. And trained appropriately when they need to be. And the recommendation is just about, putting in the correct title, which would be Director of PPS.
She was going
I'm sorry, so hold on, I'm sorry. So I was reading this preschool special education, so. Should the board disagree with the CPSC's recommendations, it shall send the recommendations back to the CPSC. So that they may schedule a timely meeting to review the board's concerns or revise the IEP as deemed appropriate. So this sounds as though the board is like involved with these recommendations, and the only time we saw anything about CPSC. Was after the budget was already developed and being voted on for last year.
Where's it, we went back to, where are you?
I'm on the preschool special education.
Okay, thank
What is the third paragraph? It says should the board disagree with the recommendations, it shall send the recommendation back to CPSC, so. Is the board supposed to be? Approving these recommendations?
So they go on when we do the annual reviews, so that would be, it would go on the agenda like you saw last year.
But that was after that was like the night of the budget vote. It was already embedded in the budget.
Right, so the timeliness of it is based on when the annual reviews are held. So that does coincide with the budget vote, which is after the preparation, but those factors are taken into consideration when we're budgeting.
So there's no way to get those recommendations to us before the night that we're voting on the budget? Cause if we actually have concerns, like. I did express concerns that night, but it was like too late.
But the concerns, the approval that you're giving is not based on the budget, it's based on whether the recommendations are appropriate for the students.
No, I know, but those are the concerns that I was bringing up.
About the students.
Yeah. It just happens to be that same night and obviously tied to. The budget, because we were specifically saying we were seeing a $2 million savings in special education services.
So the question would be is, if the board has the authority to, if the board disagrees with the recommendation, then it has to go back, so we're trying to find out what is a timely frame to get the information, like the board's supposed to take a look at this, and what are we looking at, what are we reviewing? So I'm not too sure what that language would look like at all, so I think that would probably require more communication with legal to find out. What would our role be, what information do we get and when do we get it, that's what I'm thinking of the time. So I don't know, so let's look into that a little bit more.
Is that also in the other one? Oh, special education personnel, so this is,
That's just the first one.
so why is there a policy about just preschool special education students? This is just for the 3 and 4-year-olds?
Yes,
Why is there not anything for the rest of it?
no, this was just what was missing from it.
Okay,
One of
we
the
just don't have
directives is what we had at
Right.
the last meeting.
personnel,
No, we're at the last meeting,
but we didn't do anything with that night, right?
No, that,
I don't think we needed to,
Right,
yeah, we got the wrong file.
these were the ones the auditors identified as missing.
Yeah, 43, 21.13.14, and just 43. We have 43, 21 just in general. Alright, so let's do, so anything else with 43, 21.13?
No, that was my.
Alright, anything else for 43, 21.14? That's where we added in the name of Director of People and Personnel Services.
this is just time, not
Just-
saving.
Not,
So this was reviewed by legal?
yes, because that has the, that was their recommendation, needs to add appropriate title here. If you
So
do,
do we know that it's been like compared to a template, like the finance ones were? Or, cause I don't know what this one, I don't know when when was this generated? Are we,
I think this is a new one,
It came from Garcia's office.
yeah, this is a new policy that we did
special
not have.
education personnel we didn't have, so this is.
It came from it in this book, that's what it says on the top status from this one.
The email, yeah,
Yes.
it's from Garcia.
I didn't have any additional questions on this one. If anyone has any additional questions.
Is this, so we're just saying director of pupil personnel services, not HR?
Right, because this is the area that they're referring to, because it's talking about. In the event that the board members are not available despite best efforts of administration, the board recognizes responsibility to meet the alternative standards established by the state education. The superintendent in consultation with the director of PPS. Shall prepare an annual report to the board, which provides information about the certifications, qualifications, special education personnel. So your question is. Why is an HR part of that? Is that?
Yeah. Is that something that you would, HR would be part of, like?
So HR would be, and I think it's a good idea, sorry, am I supposed to say that?
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's a good idea to include HR in that. The Director of Pupil Personnel Services would be really involved in the professional development and opportunities offered part. The Director of Human Resources would be involved in the certification aspect
Right,
and involved in the certification aspect to ensure that for every faculty member.
right,
So
that's what I,
that
yes.
would, that would be a subset of that, and it makes sense to include the Director of Human Resources.
So you're saying both or just a director?
Yeah.
No, both.
Both, okay. So director of PPS and director of human resources. And please speak up if you have recommendations, because I have no expertise on this, so it's just, you see something, you may see something someplace else, and it's like, well, why can't we have it here? So. So that's 4321.14. Then we go to 43. Just quick question, I have 4321.2 here, does anyone have that one as well in there?
Yes.
We got 21.2, yeah.
I think that we realized that,
We don't need that one,
right,
okay, I just want to find out. Alright, so now we're just gonna go to 4321. I'm not too sure who's responsible for that. Is that,
it was Versio sent all five together at the end of July, so.
so we're gonna do 4321.
I think it was not missing though, right?
Correct.
4321 is okay,
Megan, this is the one that you guys stood up for.
so it's
I'm
4321,
wondering why we don't need this one, 4321.2.
I think that
No, they're already in.
it's already in there.
We already have it?
Double checking, yes, 4321.2 is currently part of your board docs.
Okay, but it's adopted in 2013, 12 years ago.
Oh, shoot.
So should we not be updating this like while we're at it? I mean, I guess this needs legal review and compare it to the template.
So we can just ask,
This is like
we can ask a good review.
academic and behavioral supports, I mean, this is
We'll
really
ask,
critical.
yeah, we'll ask the good to review this, do we have the, this one I did not review.
I have not read this one yet either, because it wasn't on, I
Yeah,
was kind of like going by the agenda.
yeah, so this one I have not reviewed, so we can, push it over to legal, let's send it to legal for review. And then go for legal. 4321.2. Alright, so now,
I'm sorry, so
we're just gonna
I
say,
had sent it to Versio, Shannon, and then I spoke to Dr. Talbert. And I, of course, it wasn't what was referenced in the auditor's report, so I told Shannon not to look at it, but in the meantime, Shannon did look at it and said there were no changes.
okay,
Oh, okay.
So go for 0.2,
Yeah.
okay.
4321,
So are we gonna just put this to the board then?
yes, we'll put it to the board as.
4321.2?
So,
Does that need to, if there's no changes to it,
we just,
It's just to like
to update.
notate that we look at it, yes,
okay, cool. Thank you, I apologize.
No,
no problem.
So we'll summarize at the end when we close out. What's gonna go on the agenda, so 4321. No, 4321,
Oh, no, you want to do this.
yeah. Can I just ask a question, so who's this, is this you?
I didn't review this one, it wasn't one that I thought we were going over tonight.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
but yes,
let's-
it would be.
So maybe they'll just
let's
hold off, because I hadn't even read this yet.
Yeah, let's
go
hold
over.
Yeah, Alright, so,
And these are the legal comments,
right,
right, in yellow and orange.
yes. So we'll do that for the next one. Alright, so I wanna go down to, we do, 2342, gender preparation.
So we're gonna skip advertising in the schools, student gifts.
No, I'm gonna do those.
Okay.
Right, you know, I'll say it on, doesn't make a difference to me. All right, all right, just let's go back to 1511. We'll do that then, fine, advertising in the school.
Okay.
Requested number 3283. So who speaks on this one? It says 3283, 1511 in schools. But the requested 3283. Soliciting advertising in schools, but this number was different, okay, so this is. So 1511 is the number and not 3283, I'm assuming.
Correct.
Okay,
So Dr. Telford asked it to be added because they're receiving a lot of flyers asking, for example, daycare programs, and she wants to make sure it's complies that they're not, the school district is not advertising for third parties or supporting if that's against school district policy.
I think that legal respond to this, yeah, there's an email that came in today.
There's a memo, so.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty much a statutory type of language about advertising.
And I think it was something about if it's not for profit, then,
Not-for-profit community organizations have more leeway than for-profit.
Should we say something about not being permitted to promote on behalf of any candidate? During or like political candidates during school hours or?
Didn't it say something about campaigning or political? Somewhere like that.
yeah, that's not,
Uh,
Yeah, the first sentence, the first paragraph says, promoting on school property any commercial, political, or non-school agency.
so I think this policy already covers. If we're getting requests to disseminate out about different, like whether it's childcare, something like that, that's something that we're not allowed to do. It says it would be best practice for the district to develop additional policy addressing advertising on school grounds, dissemination of flyers.
The fourth paragraph,
Yes,
when
yeah.
I talked with her about those this morning, I felt like it then opened up the door. Well, because general public interest is. Even if there's an art program in town being offered, that's an educational.
Which paragraph was it?
It's in the last paragraph on the memo. I think my concern would be.
I didn't see the
You
memo.
want to see it?
We did a memo we received today.
Yes.
I can try to
I got
pull
it.
it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's just saying it, they're just saying that if we're gonna do something like this, that, yeah, we really should have language that addresses. I know in the past that anything that was distributed out had to be reviewed by the superintendent, and the superintendent had to sign off on it, and that included whether it was coming from. Like the parent organization within the district, everything had to be approved before it was disseminated out.
Well, but I think she's asking for more guidance on what she should be approving.
I kind of like what it says on the bottom here. It. Students should ensure it states the program or service addressed by the flyer is not sponsored or endorsed by the district. I think because someone may think that if they are disseminating out a flyer, let's just say for childcare, if it's coming from the district, they may think that we as a district are supporting. That particular place or, that we reviewed it, and whatnot. That's my only thing, so.
We have the outside groups put a disclaimer on the bottom of those flyers saying it's really not endorsed by the district.
And I think that we should also put something on top of that that says, on top with something else that we also state that this is not endorsed by the Amherst School District.
Is a flyer that is on the past website. You don't think it's on the current one that says. That they have to send the flyer to the superintendent reviews it, whatever, and there has to be a disclaimer, distribution of this flyers for informational purposes only. And the school district does not endorse the program, its employees or any individual associated with the program.
So we create a regulation that would have those kind of parameters on it. Like what is allowed?
Good question.
That would make sense because like,
What is allowed is pretty
Yeah.
restricted in
Yeah.
the state constitution.
Yeah.
The clubs and the outside organizations
Yeah,
have a lot more leeway to do those sort of things, provided the disclaimer is on the flyer.
right, that's what that's what I mean, like kind of spell it out to be like. Alright, if you're one of those groups that are allowed to advertise, this is how you're allowed to do it. You have to have this disclaimer, it has to get
Legal would
approved.
have to provide that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
For
right.
every meeting would have to-
Obviously.
yeah, because I'm like wondering like. Does the senior class buy class ranks?
They do, we spoke about that earlier
Oh.
this afternoon through a private for-profit company, but the senior class is a club. And they have more leeway, student clubs and outside organizations like PTA and boosters. Have much more leeway to do things that we as a district are prohibited from doing. This policy is addressing what the school district really can't do, which is pretty much provide support for a private company.
I
That's
think my,
interesting, but you're saying that the club
Clubs are different,
can advertise for the class ring as an example.
they can
And
send out,
where is that like defined here?
I don't think it's actually in this policy, but I'd have to look at the student activity handbook policy where they are allowed to do fundraising and engage with private companies.
And that, so is there a policy on the PTA then?
in terms of,
Fundraising, advertising, soliciting of funds.
let's you, we'll look at that on next week, next time.
Yeah, I mean, those were just some thoughts, and
Yeah.
I kind of, what I'm doing is I'm agreeing with Chris that either this should be a regulation. Maybe there is regulation in tandem with other policies that we might not have in here.
Right, so I think going
But
back
how
to,
does a club, why is a club allowed to do that?
so can we just stay with 1511 for tonight, and then for another night, we can look at. Clubs and whatnot, because we're going down a different road.
Yes.
So I think it's important, I think we need to discuss it, but we need to just stay with this particular policy. I think also, I think if I had to be the person to approve something that was gonna be distributed out, I would, then I'm in the seat. If I don't approve one flyer, but I approve another one, then that makes it very difficult for that superintendent. To say, well, how come you approved this one, but you didn't approve mine? So I think we need to look at this a little bit more, and like you said, Chris, if there's any type of regulation, any more details that we can find, let's look at this a little bit further.
And also the commercial photographer paragraph. who's taking school photographs on school premises for a school purpose. What is a school purpose defined as? And like, is this just any commercial photographer that shows up on their own, or are they invited by the team or the school? Does that have to get defined anymore?
So let's review this a little bit more.
Both of those things.
Yeah.
Um. So we're gonna bring this back to our next policy meeting, we're saying?
Yeah, I think we need to get more
We're
information,
kind of,
yeah.
I feel like we're putting a lot to the board anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't give this to the board, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we need to look at this a little bit more, yes.
There's a lot of. People calling constantly to see what the status of their bodies are, so that's.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think we have enough. We can't make a decision tonight, I think right now, Julie has to go by the policy that's here. And, until we make a decision. Student gifts and solicitation 5660, so we're gonna review this one more for the next meeting, review. Or the policy committee. For the October meeting. So student gifts and solicitations, did everyone have an opportunity to review this one?
Yeah.
Right. I think is this all connected with the advertisement? Okay. So maybe what we should do if this is. So these were pulled out because it's all connected with that, with the other policy 1511.
Yes, but for, because we don't have policies that directly address it, that's what they said.
Right, so can I make recommended to the policy committee, can we take 5660 and 1,000? And let's save that for our October meeting, so therefore we have opportunity to review it. And make any recommended changes. To these or. See if there's additional policy that addresses some of the concerns, is everyone okay with that?
Does the booster organization policy kind of tie in with these also?
We can look at all that, yeah, even the booster. So let's take these along and look at maybe the booster even the next time. So I'm gonna go over to 2342. So for 2342. Agenda preparation and dissemination,
Oh, you said 1,000 for the next meeting too?
yes, yeah, because it's all, I think it was all pulled from what Emery was saying.
Okay.
All connected. All right, agenda preparation and dissemination. There was also a memo from the 25th of August that came from legal. Answering a question about resolutions. Right, the policy that we have here shows that it's striked out. Says item business may be suggested by any board member, and it says it strikes out to employee, parents, student, other members of the public, and must relate to district business. There's a part of me that I feel that. You know, everyone should have opportunities, they have suggestion for the agenda that's related to district business. That it is, they have opportunity to submit it. I do feel that, inclusion items suggested by the district employee, whatever, that should stay in. It shall be at discretion of the superintendent and subject to approval of the board, the board president. I think it just allows for more, it allows for the agenda to be set. But also allowing for the opportunity for people to have input about placing things on the agenda.
Yeah.
And it says person suggested item business must submit the items to the superintendent at least 14 days prior. And 1 week prior to a special meeting, items will not be added to agenda later than these time periods unless it's items of an emergency nature and authorized by the superintendent in consultation with the board president. I think that. All that language should stay, and I don't think we should strike any of it out.
So what, this policy was on the June 18th meeting. And it came back to us because,
Well, we got approved.
But is that-
Suggesting to strike those,
Yeah, I think that came from the last policy meeting that took place, that there was only one person that attended the meeting. So I think it wasn't from. Cause you, it wasn't from, I wasn't there. Yes.
okay. Yeah, I think as representatives of the community. Should allow the input. Of the community. To understand what they want us to discuss.
I don't think we should strike out England, I think it should all stay.
Yeah.
Why is this not going?
Wonderful.
I'm trying to scroll down. Let me get it. See if it's not to- Alright, we're just trying to get to, alright, so any questions on this? Any
Yeah, I have-
feedback on this?
yeah. Okay, so. Should it just say the superintendent in consultation with the board officers shall prepare the agenda for each board meeting? Rather than board president, and then strike board officers may be invited to the agenda setting meetings?
I don't have that on.
What paragraph are you saying that may be in there?
The first paragraph?
Oh, okay, the last sentence is the first time.
Oh, okay. I'm in support of leaving the language the way that it is, because for me, and this has nothing with me being the board president, I think it allows for. If there's two officers, so if there's three people, and try to get everyone there, to do an agenda review, sometimes it's, cumbersome. But if it states that it has to be the board officer and the president, then that would be the challenge. But if let's say the president's not there, but a board officer can still attend to do that agenda review, that allows for that to take place. We have always, it's always been. A situation where the board officers have been attending the agenda review setting, so I don't think there's a need to change the language. I think we should that's just me, leave the way it is. Or we can bring it before the board and they can make suggestions, they can say yes or no. So my recommendation is, to leave it. We can say to the board that. We can do it one of two ways, we can leave it. The strike throughs in, or we can take it out and not make any changes. And get the feedback from the rest of the board and see what they have to say.
I think I'd like to add a statement in this, policy.
Okay,
That the Board of Education meeting is a meeting of the board. Its function is for the elected representatives of the community to conduct the business of the district. The superintendent and other school officials may also present to provide information and context for the boards, at the board's discretion. All items submitted by any board member to the superintendent or to the board president shall be added to the board agenda.
so you can submit that language in and see if the board wants that language included. So it's something you have
Just
written,
type it up and send it to Anne Marie.
yeah, is it something you already have written down already?
Well, I have like. A lot of thoughts. So, yeah, I can type this for you.
Thank you. Can I leave 2342? To go to the minutes. Right, so 2360 for the minutes. I also pulled down, what is actually our current policy in regards to minutes. And then it's different than what was given as a draft to us. So I'm looking at, I'm looking at the current part policy. One thing that I like about the other one, it says, the unabridged video or audio recording shall be uploaded to the district website within 24 hours of all meetings and can be used. And I'm not sure if it can be used as minutes, it says can be used as minutes until the written minutes are made available to the public. So let's give that language, I say give that language over to legal. To see if the last portion where it says can be used as minutes until all the minutes are made available to the public. I think that we should add that in because this policy does not address the fact that we now, the old policy does not address the fact that we now do videotaping of our meetings. So I think that language should be included. In our old minutes, it says the minutes shall constitute an official record of proceeding of the board and shall be open to the public inspection within 1 week of executive session. And within 2 weeks of all other meetings. I think what I find very interesting is the fact that it says within 1 week of executive session. What within 2 weeks of all other meetings, because typically you have an executive session and then you have a meeting there. Sometimes you may have a meeting to go directly into executive session, so. I'm assuming that they're referring to. Well, sometimes we have a meeting to go directly into executive sessions. I think that's the reference and not when we are having a regularly scheduled meeting. I believe that's that one there.
It's standalone executive session,
Right,
because there's really nothing that'll be included in it.
right. And minutes which have not been approved by the board within its timeframe shall be marked draft. The draft of the minutes meeting shall be formatted for to each member of the board not later than the time the agenda for the next meeting is disseminated. The district clerk shall be responsible for taking the minutes and shall present the draft minutes to the board president or their designee within 1 day of the meeting. The minutes shall conform to established format. I like. I like what it says board president or designee, because that will mean that if the board president not gonna do it, then there could be another school board member that can do it. I think that we should add that language in.
Well,
Look,
no,
this
no,
one,
this is the third paragraph you're on.
Yeah, so I'm looking at both of them. This was our actual policy here. This was our actual policy. This policy was revised. At the last meeting. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Is there an issue with this? Because this one, there's a strike through of president or their designee, so it's just saying to send to the board. Within 1 day.
Because. Yeah, this is my perspective on it. And then Emery can jump in and I may be wrong, my perspective on it is that if you have. Where if a 7-member board and you have 7 different people holding different notes to the district clerk. It could get very confusing, so as a board, you do review the whole minutes. So if it's just one person, the board president or their designee. That reviews the drafts of the minute and then the whole board gets it, then that's fine. I think what we should try to think about doing is that. To allow ample time to review the minutes, everyone, that we get it at least a week prior to, any board meeting. And I think now we're gonna be caught up, because that'll be the key.
I like it going straight to the board. And I think that there's so many ways to collaborate on a Word file now. You could put it on like a SharePoint. And everybody can just work right in the same Word file if there's questions or edits. To streamline the process of reviewing the minutes.
And like I said, I don't think it should go to the entire board. I think a draft should be created, and then from that point, then the entire board can see it. I do feel that the minutes do need to come out as soon as it's seen by the district clerk. Done by district clerk, done by reviewed by the board president or designee. Then as soon as that draft is okay, that goes out right away to the entire board. So then that way, it could be a week, it could be at least 2 weeks that people are looking at this, the minutes. And it'll minimize the. It minimizes the role of the district clerk, not minimizes, but allows the district clerk to make any changes that may be picked up right away by the designee or the board president. And then from that point, then the whole board will take a whole look at it and see if there's anything else that may be picked up.
Or else I'm gonna have 7 or 6 of the same comment being made over and over again. You look at it first. You'll get through 80% of my questions or whatever, and then it'll go to the rest of the board and they'll be. Half of them might approve it, and that's, I'm just picturing getting 7 suggestions in the same item.
So you think it'd be more efficient for it to go to one person?
One person, original.
And that's why I like the language of board president or their designee, because I think to me. It could be either way, being very honest, that's how I learned how to review the minutes, because I was not the board president, I was designated for the person to review the minutes, so if someone else wants to take on that role. And the minutes go to that person, I'm fine with that, you know what I mean, I don't have to be the person that reviews the minute. I don't mind passing on to someone else and then it goes to the entire board, so I have no problem with that.
Does board docs have the ability to have a Word file on board docs that the board trustees can edit?
Not that I know. I'm just in PDFs.
Okay, I just think that we can be way more efficient. With the way that we're doing this, if it went to the entire group. With a file that anybody can open and actually like put comments in.
And I think the biggest thing is, and I'm more comfortable with leaving it with one person. Communicating with the district clerk, and then it gets out to the entire board, and when that happens, if we wanna put it in a Word file, so therefore comments can be made on there, but. The district clerk has to make sure that it's saved, that she has a Word file that's separate. And then a Word file that's sent to the board to make comments, because then the formatting gets all skewed as well, so therefore then she has to correct the whole formatting, so. I support the idea of giving it in Word to make comments. But then she has a separate file that she keeps in Word, so therefore the formatting does not get turned around. And that's the one thing that I can think about from doing the minutes.
So then, if that's the case, since it sounds like you guys both wanted to go to the board president or the designee, then can we say within what timeline it's gonna go to the rest of the board?
Well, if you do a Word document, could you just lock the document and just allow comments? Certain things where you can,
I looked into Google Docs, that it could be done within that, I don't know if it could be done within Word. It's limited only to comments and not changing.
I know,
When's
and
our next meeting?
I don't remember if it's I think you can, because I use Word
I think I.
and Microsoft at work, and I'm pretty sure that you're able to lock the document and just allow certain people to. So like you might be able to share it with the board president and allow them to make changes, but then allow the rest of the board to see it and then maybe make comments. So it's more eyes on it, but not necessarily.
I think only I'm gonna say is this, and this is. From doing the minutes for a length of time. A lot of times, there's a lot of stuff that we clean up. A lot of things that we clean up prior to getting to the board, and then from that point, it's just minor things. Maybe we don't have the Zoom numbers, maybe we don't have a proper number, lettering, like number and lettering on it, so there's a lot of other stuff that we clean up. We also, if people are gonna do it, you have to listen to the audio, you can't just go by your notes. You have to listen to your audio, because sometimes even with my note taking, when I go back to listen to the audio. It's not correct, so you have to go by what is there in the audio, so. To your question, Megan, I'm just looking at the meeting dates, and I'm looking at, so it has on here. Within 2 weeks of all of the meetings that it goes to the board. Well, hold on. Not later than a time agenda for the next meeting is disseminated. I'm okay in adding something in here that says draft minutes of each meeting shall be forwarded to each member of the board. I'm trying to think, because we don't, our meeting dates are not consistent. So you wanna say. Within 2 weeks of the next board meeting? Within 10 days, because I'm trying to figure out what's realistic. To make sure that we're meeting all the things, meeting all the meetings. Because we have a meeting date on the 15th, the another one on the 19th. Was it within 2 weeks after the last meeting?
1 week?
The draft minutes of each meeting shall be forwarded to each board member no later than 2 weeks from the last meeting date.
1 week.
Unless it's Jewish holidays, Christmas, New Year's, Presidents.
Yeah.
And then 3 days a week or 2 days, depending on how many meetings have been in the last 2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, she's only here 3 days a week, so that's what I'm saying, within 2 weeks. Draft minutes shall be forwarded to each board member not later than 2 weeks.
So then we're gonna get the minutes. When it has to get posted for the public, so you're gonna give to the board the minutes at the same time you're giving it to the public. Cause it says we're supposed to post within 2 weeks of the meeting, the draft minutes, so
You can still post it to the public, but we can make comments and make changes on it. And then put a revised portion,
I
revised.
just think it should just go to the Board of Education.
I hear what you're saying, but the problem is Emery's only here 25 hours a week. So, and she has to stay within that time frame of 25 hours a week, so as a result. You know, what I mean, I can't guarantee they're gonna be up in a week's time, they'll be done in a week.
Between last week and this week, I have 15 hours of just meetings and district clerk training, so that leaves 11 hours. Well, each week, it's less than, it's just not practical. 7 people,
15 hours
so-
of meetings, just
district clerk, did last week, Monday, tonight, and I have 4 hours of district clerk workshop this week. So you take all that time. And try to figure out how to get actual work done, that's. Everyone else is just not like. And then I'm gonna get 7 people coming back saying, the page number is wrong, the Zoom thing, I'm answering the same questions, so it's just not efficient.
but you're not writing minutes for this meeting, you're doing the policy updates though. Right? So you're just writing the minutes for last Monday's meeting.
So we're talking about 25 hours a week, so it's 50 hours between last week and this week. And between the 2 meetings and my district clerk, it's around 14 hours. Of taking away from my time to do other work.
You're saying this meeting and last Monday's meeting, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And she's
What other
gonna, so,
meetings?
so what Emery's gonna provide to us.
What are the meetings?
Emery's gonna provide to us, the board requested some more details about what she's doing, so she's gonna
Right,
provide
because
to the
that's
board
not in
in
the
writing.
contract.
Right?
The contract says to do the board meetings and the policy and help with the policies.
So
That's what our 25 hours.
Emery's gonna provide to us in an email.
Hmm.
What she's been doing, because that was requested from the board, so that's not part of this open session here, so allow her to give that information, she's working on that information, she'll give that information to us.
Okay, so at the end it says, all right, so where do we leave it, that we are getting the minutes at the same time the public? is
Right
getting
now, the
minutes?
draft minutes of each meeting shall be
I don't
reported to
think we
each
should
board
write
member no later than 2 weeks of the last meeting.
And Maria, question, so if we have you share the minutes with the whole board, but then just limited, so I'm looking on Google, you can give permissions to view. Permissions to comment on, or permissions to edit. So if you gave it, like I said, the president or designee edit permissions, so it's just you and one other person with the edit permissions. And then all the rest of the board members had comment permissions, so if I leave a comment on this page number being wrong, and then Megan goes behind me and sees the same thing, she'll see that I already left a comment. Would that be efficient enough, or would that still add to the chaos?
I really feel like 80% of the changes would be dealt with just one person reviewing it. And in theory, I agree with you, but if somebody out of the board members, is everybody respectfully gonna be checking everybody else's comments, or just putting their own?
I don't see why we wouldn't, the comments are there that we can review.
Alright.
I don't know, I mean, I collaborate on files day in and day out with teams of many people, so. It's, you just kind of get used to it. Your track changes are in there, your comments are in there, and the file gets updated a lot quicker.
Alright, so this is, our district clerk has made a suggestion, So right now, we'll leave it as board president or the designee, and we'll bring it back to the board, and the board can make the final decision. And then right now, the draft minutes, each meeting shall be forwarded to each member of the board, so right now we have no later than 2 weeks of the last meeting. We may have to adjust that just a little bit.
So at the end, it says the board member is not present at the opening, that we were gonna identify that, so. We should also identify if a board member leaves the meeting or any portion of the meeting.
So usually what happens is that in the minutes, we usually make a note of when someone leaves, and when someone arrives, and if they leave early. We usually don't make a
What
note.
if they like leave? And then come back,
Because
because I mean, you could strategically leave and not vote on certain things, I think it should be noted if you're leaving the room and then you come back and. The meeting that there was a storm and there was like an interruption in the video footage, like you called, what time was there an interruption in the
I think it was
video?
like 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, but we've had it in the minutes, so if, but we would just wanna be consistent if that's what we wanna do. So if somebody's like leaving during the meeting and then returning, and then if
We
there's an
can add-
interruption in the
we
Zoom.
can add it in. But we don't. Okay. So if someone leaves the meeting.
Yeah.
right, let's say they leave the meeting and go to the restroom, right?
Uh-huh.
If there's a vote that's taken place. right, then they're not gonna be reported on that vote because they're not there in the room at that particular time. So what you're saying is that if that's the case, then you want it to be noted that someone left the meeting but returned.
Yeah, we're just saying if they're not all present at the beginning of the meeting, we're gonna note it.
Yeah,
I think we should note if the board member leaves the meeting for any portion, or
And
when they
returns.
come back.
Yeah.
We should know if there's an interruption in the recording, if we're aware of it at the time, right?
I would say, like, as far as board member leaving. I wouldn't say we should record it anytime somebody walks out of the room. I'd say maybe if there's a vote happening and they're not present during the vote, then that could just be marked on the. On the record of the vote,
So they weren't.
X board member was not present. And then
So-
if they leave permanently and miss the rest of the meeting, I think that should be noted, so like a late arrival or an early departure, like a permanent early departure.
So I will say this, I know in the past that there were times, this is going back, that in the past, when I was on the board, there were times that was noted that. Lisa Johnson left the meeting at 8:05 and then returned back at 8:25, that type of thing, so I guess we can go either way.
It's not a big deal,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just noting who's present. If we're saying who's present at the beginning, it's in the minutes, so if they're not present for some portion, they're not present for some portion.
I don't think it happens often where someone leaves.
No, I'm not indicating.
No,
that.
no,
I'm just saying, like,
If
we're looking at this policy just to
Yeah,
be
that's fine.
comprehensive with the
So I
expectation.
made a note, leave the meetings and return to make that note, and any interruptions in recording, to make that note as well, if we're aware of any interruptions in recording. All right, And I gotta bounce out, so I have another meeting I'm supposed to be to it at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Alright, so, our goal is. I'll go to section B, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go on to the agenda. 8 and 9 will go to the agenda. And then we already know, we've already made a note, Anne Marie, of what will be, what has to go to legal, so how about we clean it up, what has to go to legal? And then. Yeah, so parental involvement, that can go on the agenda as a. Shoot. As a first reading, first and final reading. The investment, the 6240 and 6240R. And 6700, those have to go legal for, well, they're all gonna go legal. And 6741 have to go legal with our comments. 0101, they're all gonna go legal with that comment, so everything's gonna go back to legal anyway. But our goal is for. No, when it comes back from legal, we can put it on the agenda as a reading. And then we can, or we can bring it back to the policy committee and consider what their recommendations will. Right, so thank you for joining us, we're gonna close the meeting out now at 8:20.
This meeting is the 15th, right?
I think next meeting, I want to say, isn't like the 29th or something like that? 27th.
Committee meeting is the